All right, let's get started. Welcome everyone, bienvenidos. Before we begin the presentation, I'd like to let everyone know that we are offering Spanish language interpretation during today's meeting. After I go over the instructions for joining the Spanish interpretation channel, our Spanish interpreter will provide them in Spanish. Simultaneous interpretation is being provided. English speakers may need to select English as their language. From your computer, select the globe icon at the bottom of the screen and select English or Spanish. From your mobile device, select the More icon under the three dots to select English or Spanish. Go ahead, Ruth.
Buenas tardes. Vamos a ofrecer servicios de interpretación simultánea, tanto para quienes necesiten la traducción al inglés o al español. Para utilizar el servicio de interpretación, por favor, desplácese a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación, que puede ser el globo terráqueo, o donde dice More, que es el círculo con los puntos suspensivos, que será el caso de los teléfonos celulares. Seleccione su idioma. Para no escuchar el audio original al fondo, haga clic en Mute Original Audio. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Adelina Pius. I'm an air pollution specialist here at ARB. I help plan the evening community meetings and work on outreach for light duty and clean mobility incentives in California's northern and central regions. I also serve as the tribal coordinator in efforts to help our ARB's tribal liaison for the Mobile Source Control Division. Tonight, I will be facilitating this meeting as we share on clean transportation incentives, engagement opportunities, and presentations on topics of public interest. Before we begin, I do want to thank our team of volunteers and presenters who help make these meetings possible each month. We truly appreciate your time and effort, and we thank you, thank you, thank you. Another quick housekeeping note, this meeting is being recorded. The recording, agenda, slides, and attendee list will be posted to our, or most of them are posted, sorry, but the recording of this meeting will be posted to our website. If I can have our email monitor drop that in the chat, that'd be awesome. Next slide, please. All right. Our meeting agreements. These meetings are about community and sharing information. Our meeting agreements are here to alleviate challenges and are as follows. Be respectful. Let's be kind and create a comfortable space for everyone to share their thoughts and experiences. Take space and/or make space. If you have a lot to say, great. We encourage you to share and ask questions, but please be mindful and leave room for others to participate as well. Listen to understand. Listen without judgment or jumping to conclusions. Consider equity. We all aim to develop solutions with fairness and equality in mind. People from all over California are here to work together, and these diverse perspectives can help us overcome many barriers. With these agreements, let's continue. Evening community meetings. What are they? What's the purpose? What are our intentions? Well, these evening community meetings are held to hold space for community members to engage with us. Our goals of these meetings are to provide a space for community voices and priorities, brainstorm solutions for clean transportation needs, highlight important program information, and foster an ongoing communication between staff and the community. We understand that many community members face challenges attending daytime meetings due to work, family responsibilities, and other commitments. And sometimes, let's face it, we're all just a little brain dead by 5 o'clock. To help with this and to help keep everyone informed, we've created these evening meetings to provide summaries of CARB's daytime clean transportation workshops and work groups. These sessions are designed for community members, community-based organizations, and individuals who may not be able to attend daytime meetings, but want to share their concerns, questions, and suggestions. If you are a representative of industry, government, or even non-governmental organizations, we welcome you to listen in on these community meetings to better understand individual and community perspectives. However, we strongly encourage you to also participate in CARB's daytime work groups and workshops, which offer a more in-depth and technical information. During our Q&A segments, we do ask that you help us prioritize feedback and questions from individuals and community members and their community leaders. Next slide, please. All right. On tonight's agenda, we have 2 items. First up for tonight, we do have a special guest, Yu Chang He. She is an air resource engineer at CARB from CARB's mobile source team in the Air Quality Planning and Science Division. So they are a different division, but still involve transportation. So we thought this would be a good space for her to come and talk to you all. She will be presenting California's strategies for reducing emissions from the aviation sector, followed by a short survey. Not too bad. It's only a few questions, I promise. For our second presentation, we have Stephanie Parent, a staff air pollution specialist, giving a brief update from for the clean transportation incentives. We will have time for a Q&A after each topic. And I will now hand things over to my colleague, Yu Chang, for her presentation.
Thanks, Adelina. Hello, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. As outlined in the 2020 Mobile Source Strategy and the 2022 State Strategy for the State Implementation Plan, CARB is exploring strategies to reduce emissions associated with aircraft operations while on the ground at airports. This is a plot showing 2024 NOx emissions from each source compared to their NOx emissions in the year 2050. NOx refer to nitrogen oxides. They irritate lungs and drive smog and ozone formation. So regulations focus on cutting NOx from vehicles, power plants, and other sources. The y-axis here is showing the NOx emissions in tons per day from each source. The green bar represents the emission from locomotives. The blue bar represents the on-road emission. The red bar represents the aircraft emission. The yellow bar is the ocean-going vessel emission, and the orange bar represents the off-road emission. As you can see from this plot, all other emissions are expected to decrease between 2024 and 2050, except for aircraft. Aircraft NOx emissions are expected to increase by 30% between now and 2050. This trend is clearly highlighting the lack of emission control measures for aircraft. Next slide, please. We have several sources emission at airports. First, we have on-road traffic to and from the airport, including passenger cars, taxis, and shuttles. Inside the airport, parked aircraft at gates can emit pollutants while auxiliary power units run to supply cabin air and electricity. Then, ground support equipment like baggage tractors and fuel trucks contribute emissions near the terminal. As aircraft move, emissions occur during taxiing on taxiways. And finally, there are emissions from aircraft landing and taking off on runways. Each stage plays a role in overall airport emissions, and CARB is actively working to address these emissions at every level. The existing regulations are not enough for California to achieve our air quality and climate goals. Therefore, CARB is exploring new strategies to further reduce emissions from the aviation sector. These are the 4 areas where we're developing concepts. I will go over the first 3 in the following slides. And since takeoffs and landings are more complex to manage, we've decided to set them aside for now. Next slide, please. The first draft concept would be to deploy 100% zero-emission ground support equipment fleets. There are existing zero-emission ground support equipments on the market and have been proven to be feasible and are in use currently. We have approximately 22% of zero-emission GSE as of 2022. Next slide, please. The second concept would require aircraft operators to plug into electrified gates and use a preconditioned air supply instead of running the APU. APU stands for Aircraft Auxiliary Power Unit, which is a small turbine engine, usually mounted in the tail, as the red box shows in the figure. It provides electricity, air conditioning, and power for engine start when the main engines are off. Many airports already provide access to ground power and preconditioned air at their gates, so encouraging pilots to plug in the terminal can reduce emission from this type, which can provide direct benefit for airport workers and communities living around the airport. Next slide, please. The next concept will focus on reducing taxiing emissions. During aircraft taxiing operations, pollutants are primarily emitted from the aircraft's main engines. So the goal here is minimizing aircraft engine use while taxiing. One potential technology is TaxiBot. It is a semi-robotic pilot-controlled towing vehicle designed to move an aircraft without the need to use the aircraft's engine. The TaxiBot itself can be zero emission. We are currently exploring the feasibility of deploying TaxiBot in this sector. Next slide, please. This slide lays out the timeline of our regulation development. As you can see, the process has several stages and community input is critical to each one. In 2025 and 2026, our staff will be working to identify sources, audiences, and conduct engagement. During this time, we'll be quantifying impacts and preparing the foundation for the regulation. Next, we will co-host listening sessions, engagement meetings, and public workshops. This is where your voice really matters. We want to make sure the regulation reflects the needs, experiences, and the priorities of communities across California. In 2027, the regulation is expected to go to the board for consideration. As part of the formal process, additional engagement will be required under the Administrative Procedure Act. And finally, after board consideration, there will be opportunities for implementation planning and more engagement to make sure the regulation works in practice and not just on paper. Today, we have a survey for you to complete. Your input is extremely valuable to us, and we truly appreciate you taking the time to share your feedback.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and launch the first question. The first question is, do you work at or near the airport? And we'll give you some time to enter in your answer. I'm still seeing answers coming through. We'll give it a bit more time. It looks like it's slowing down, so we'll go ahead and move to the next question. Our next question is, how far are you from the airport? And we will give you some time to answer that as well. Looks like the answers are starting to slow down. We'll go ahead and move to the next slide, or I'm sorry, the next question. Question number 3, is aviation-related emission a personal concern for you or your community? It looks like the answers have slowed down. We're going to go ahead and move on to question 4. Question 4, are you affected by airport noise? Okay, it looks like the answers have slowed down. Let's go ahead and move to question 5. Question 5, do you support California establishing its own regulation to reduce pollution from airports, such as ground operations and aircraft activities? Still seeing some answers trickling in. Okay, we're going to go ahead and end question 5. Lastly, we have question 6. How would you prefer to be informed or involved in decisions about reducing airport emissions? Okay, it looks like the answers are slowing down a bit. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end question 6. We appreciate your feedback and I will give it back to you, Chang.
Can we move to the next slide, please? Next slide, please.
Michael? Hi, Michael, are you there still? Sorry about that. Oh, there it goes. Yu Chang, are you still there?
Yeah, so we will now open the floor for questions and comments about this part of the presentation. I'd like to remind everyone that this evening meetings are intended for community members and individuals not affiliated with an organization or company to be able to share their thoughts, comments, and ask questions. Please make space to allow them to speak first. To ask a question or make a comment, you can click raise hand under the participants tab if you're on the desktop
Hi,
version of Zoom.
Yu Chang, sorry. I just meant that you could share your contact slide.
Oh,
Sorry. Yeah, so if anyone has any questions or comments or would like to speak to Yu Chang about her presentation today, please see the contact slide. It has yuchang.he@arb.ca.gov. And for more information, you can visit the Zero Emission Ground Support Equipment and subscribe there. Sorry, Yu Chang. Next slide, Michael. The next slide, this one will be for our Q&A volunteer to take over for us. Stephen, are you on?
I am. Thank you.
Hi. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Yu Chang. I appreciate your help.
So I'll start where Yi Chang left off. So if you do want to ask a question or make a comment, if you're on the desktop version of Zoom, please click raise hand under the participants tab. If you're on your mobile device, using the Zoom app, tap raise hand in the more tab. And if you're calling in by telephone number, press *2 to raise your hand. You can also email questions to cleantransportation@arb.ca.gov. This email address will also be posted in the chat. Please include your name and affiliation, if any, with your question. Once your line is open, state your name and affiliation, if any, before you begin speaking. And if you're emailing, our email monitor will notify us of your questions. I'll let you know once I've unmuted you, and you can ask your questions.
All right, it looks like we have no raised hands. And you said no questions in the email?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's pass things on to Stephanie Parent. She will be leading the presentation for clean transportation incentives.
Adelina. So good afternoon, everyone. As Adelina said, my name is Stephanie Parent. I lead CARB's Clean Transportation Incentives Funding Plan. You may have noticed that we didn't post the proposed funding plan and appendices on our website on October 10th. I'm going to address that as well as a new CARB initiative for informational purposes. Federal government's recent actions targeting 3 of California's waivers for its vehicle emission standards have led to market uncertainty. This has made it harder for California to keep moving forward to adopt clean vehicle technology in our state. These actions also have made people less interested in buying clean technology in the US. The federal government also cut zero-emission vehicle funding and perks. These include federal tax credits and carpool lane access. These actions have made it harder for people to buy and afford these vehicles. Additionally, recent California budget deficits have reduced the money available for these incentives. Next slide. Thanks. So given this shifting landscape, it's critical that we reevaluate our priorities. This will help us ensure our investments are deliberate. It will also help us ensure that we position our investments to drive lasting impact. This is especially important as we enter the next legislative budget cycle. CARB is planning to bring the funding plan to the board in 2026. More time will allow us to review program needs and present improved recommendations. Thanks. Let me catch up. Sorry, an alarm went off. So California is fighting back. We won't give up on cleaner air and improved public health. CARB has launched the Drive Forward initiative. Drive Forward aims to continue California's commitments through developing new light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicle standards and incentives policies. It also includes outreach, market support, and collaboration with interested parties and communities, including tribal and rural communities. The first commitment is to meet state and national air quality standards. Another commitment is to fulfill state goals. These include carbon neutrality by 2045 and zero-emission vehicle and infrastructure targets. Additionally, California commits to continue to fight climate change. We also commit to protect public health. Here, I mentioned the recent illegal and unconstitutional actions by the federal administration. These have set back California's ability to achieve air quality standards, and they undermine CARB's ability to protect public health. We have a legal and moral obligation to protect people's health. More than 17 million Californians breathe unhealthy air, and 1,500 people die from air pollution every year in Southern California alone. At the end of today's meeting, we'll let you know about upcoming meetings you can participate in. I'll now hand things over to my colleague, Stephen. He'll guide our question and answer session on this topic.
So we'll now open the floor for questions and comments about this part of the presentation. I'd like to remind everyone again that these evening meetings are intended for community members and individuals not affiliated with an organization or company to be able to share their thoughts, comments, and ask questions. So please make space to allow them to speak first. Again, to make a question, to ask a question or make a comment, if you're on the desktop version of Zoom, click raise hand under the participants tab. If you're on the mobile app for Zoom on your mobile device, tap raise hand in the more tab. If you're calling in by phone number, press *2 to raise your hand. And you can also email questions to cleantransportationincentives@arb.ca.gov. Again, this email address will also be posted in the chat. Please be sure to include your name and affiliation, if any, with your question. Once your line is open, state your name and affiliation before speaking. If you're emailing, our email monitor will notify us of your questions. We have 10 minutes for questions and comments.
Even, are you frozen?
No, Richard Blaustein, I see your hand up. I believe I've unmuted you.
Thank you very much. My name is Rich Blaustein. I'm a journalist. I write for Climate Brief, which is published by the Continuing Education of the Bar of California. Greatly appreciate all these evening meetings. I've learned a lot, and gotten a lot of information. I just have a question about the funding plan. So first, am I correct in these assumptions? And then I ask what's ahead. My assumption were that it was going to be released for comments on October 10th, and then presented to the board at its November meetings. So now there'll be a release, if I'm correct, in 2026 for a later date for the board's voting. And then my second question concerns what's ahead. So there's a board meeting later this week about the which will have as an item the executive order on clean vehicles. Could you mention how this might dovetail and perhaps the drive forward plan presented? Thank you very much.
Thanks for your questions. Let's see. As far as the first one, you were asking about the time frame. So yes, it's correct. We were supposed to post the funding plan on the 10th of October and go to the November, I think 20th or 21st board meeting. And so now we've postponed that. We are in the process of trying to get some of the documents posted so that people have time to really review those before we go to the board. We don't yet know exactly which month we will be presenting at the board meeting. So still waiting for that information. But then we would still follow the same procedure as far as posting the proposed funding plan to the webpage 30 days prior to the board meeting, whichever month that will be in. So then the second question had to do with the Thursday board meeting that deals with zero-emission vehicles. I'm not part of the group that is putting that presentation together, but I can just say, like in a broad perspective, the Drive Forward initiative is spanning, several months to like over the next year, for us to really kind of step back and look at everything, look at all of our different programs, and reevaluate all of the needs of those programs. So while I may not know specifics about the presentation that's happening on Thursday, that there is a team effort of everyone working together on this Drive Forward initiative. And like I had mentioned, that at the end of the presentation or the end of this meeting tonight, that we'll provide a list of some of those upcoming meetings that people can listen in or participate in. I think that will also help set the stage for kind of like what's coming next. And another thing I should mention would be that this Drive Forward initiative stems out of the governor's June executive order that recommits California to zero-emission vehicles and technology. And out of that came the ZEV Forward report, which is a multi-agency report. And then separately from that, CARB has kind of created this Drive Forward initiative as our piece, within ZEV Forward that we can work on because of our authority related to air quality and things related to that. So I felt like there was one other thing that I wanted to say, but it has left my mind, so I apologize for that. I think that answers all of the questions you had, or I hope that it does.
Richard, you had your hand raised again. I'll unmute you. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say thank you, and that's all very clear and helpful. Thank you.
Welcome.
And there are no currently emails in the email.
All right, are we
And
ready to?
Go ahead, Adelina.
All right. It looks like there are no other questions, so we could move on. Okay. Next step. So, okay. All right. Thanks again to all the presenters and volunteers. Oh, sorry. I was just double checking to make sure there were no other questions. It's a quiet bunch tonight. All right. So before we sign off, I do want to discuss a couple of upcoming events. Actually, before I move on, I do usually try to open the floor to any nonprofits or small organizations that are trying to share about any of their upcoming events. So I did just want to open the floor. If anyone had any events they'd want to share out or talk about, right now would be a good time to just hop on and tell us a little bit about your event that's coming up. I'm going to give you guys a few seconds for that. If I don't get any raised hands, I will continue with CARB's upcoming events. Okie dokie. All right, next slide. Upcoming events, meetings and events. All right, so today has been a pretty eventful day. I do want to recognize and do a quick shout out that the Innovative Small E-Fleet Pilot Project, ISEF for short, opened today with about 30 million in funds. ISEF offers small fleets and independent owner operators zero-emission trucks and buses through innovative solutions such as truck as a service, truck sharing, short-term rentals, and leases. For inquiries about ISEF, please contact ISEF at californiahvip.org, and we will drop that email in the chat. And as previously mentioned, CARB has launched the Drive Forward initiative aimed at continuing the state's commitment to meeting state and national air quality standards in California, while fulfilling state goals, fighting climate change, and protecting public health through strong vehicle standards. Earlier today, CARB did host the kickoff workshop for the light duty vehicles standards. In November, CARB will be hosting an incentives workshop covering, and in early December, CARB will kick off the heavy duty effort with the workshop and heavy duty strategies and standards. These workshops will be recorded if you are unable to attend. And we also plan to recap the Drive Forward workshop at the December 16th evening community meeting. So don't worry if you missed it, you will get a chance to visit us for the recap. I'd also like to close with a quick reminder that these evening meetings are held every third Tuesday of the month, excluding November. We need a break, y'all. We also may need to shift them around a day or two, but we do try our best to keep with consistency. To join any of the mentioned meetings, please visit our webpage, events webpage. Staff can also drop that in the link. And we'll move on to the next slide. Before we end, we do want to emphasize that everyone that we do have an open door policy, especially for those most affected with our incentive projects. We encourage you to contact us if you would like to meet with staff to discuss your needs, concerns, or potential solutions. We have an online form to request a one-on-one meeting. The link will be shared in the chat. You can also reach our team via email at any of the emails listed on the slide, or our main email that has a team that checks very frequently every day. Clean Transportation Incentives at arb.ca.gov. Staff will drop that in the chat. Another way to stay informed, which some folks don't always know about, is the listserv. Our listserv is a way for you to sign up for email notifications on topics that may be of interest to you, and also meetings, events, and updates of our web pages. We are here to listen, and we will do our best to help. Thank you all again for attending tonight's evening community meetings, and we hope to see you all next month.
Adelina, we have one raised hand.
We have two raised hands.
Two.
Oh,
One.
wait. Oh, just one. Piet Kanin?
So, yes, thanks for letting me speak. Sorry, I kind of think I might have missed my turn previously, but I'm Piet Can with Ecology Action, and I just had questions about the funding program, and would such CARB programs as the e-bike incentive program and DCAP, those funds be affected, or will those programs continue to be funded?
Yeah, thanks for your question. So all of the funding that has been given out to the various programs in the past, they're all continuing to run. There might be some that are in a closed mode right now, but they're still active programs or projects. So right now I can quickly recap as far as this fiscal year's budget. The legislature appropriated about $35 million for the air quality improvement program. Those funds need to be specifically used for medium and heavy duty programs or projects. There's about $132 million that was allocated to the Air Pollution Control Fund. That's through a legal settlement with Hino Motors. And that those funds are specifically to be used for the HVIP program. And then last pot of funding came in at the very end of the legislative session around mid-September, is for the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. And that's $25 million. And that was specifically earmarked for the regional Clean Cars for All programs. And so there's the 5 major air districts that make up the regional CC4A Clean Cars for All programs. And so using the formula that was developed through CARB, but also in collaboration with the air districts in the prior year, that formula would be used to divide up that $25 million. Yeah, those were all of the budget appropriations. So any projects or programs that still had funding from prior years, those would still be continuing as normal. Hopefully that answers your question.
Sorry, can I just ask a clarifying question? So for the, like, such, for example, the e-bike incentive program, does that still have current funding?
So Steph, let me jump in here if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So Pia, really great question. There was one other action that took place in the budget this year, separate from the allocations that Stephanie just walked through, which is that a bill kind of late in the session, or in late June, reallocated dollars, directed CARB to look at past dollars from fiscal years 2022 and 2023, then fiscal year 2023 and 2024, and fiscal year 24 and 25, and make any funds that are currently available to the air districts that need funding to support their projected processing demand. So in order to fulfill that, it was Senate Bill 127. CARB did go back and look at available funds. And the only available funds that had not yet been encumbered into grants is the 18 million that has been pending the e-bike solicitation. And so as of right now, those funds will be supporting the districts. And so the e-bike program has its initial funds, and we are still in the process of processing out the second window applicants. Folks still have another month and a half or so to purchase their bikes. But at this time, there will not be a second solicitation for e-bikes. That money is being used to help fulfill meeting the processing demand at the air districts at this time.
Okay, and then thanks for clarifying that. And then for DCAP, my understanding there is funding available for one tier. Will there be funding available for other tiers as well?
Yeah, within DCAP, so there are multiple different pathways that a consumer can participate. If a consumer is coming into the program to scrap a vehicle, all 3 of the tiers are still open. So consumers under 300% federal poverty level can still participate. And if a consumer is coming in without a vehicle to scrap, just for financing assistance and down payment support, that program now is limited just to that first tier, which is the most restrictive. So consumers need to be under 225% of the federal poverty level. And I'm sorry, I don't have those actual numbers in front of me at the moment. As well as live in a disadvantaged community and have challenging credit. So it is just the one tier for financing assistance, but the program is still fully open for the car scrap side.
Great. Thank you very much for answering those 2 questions. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Can someone please unmute Daniela DeBell?
Hi.
Danelle, go ahead.
I was curious if there was anything further you could say about the November incentives workshop to characterize what that would, the purpose of that, if it would be like soliciting ideas or discussing what other items.
Yeah, we did just send out a notice, I think it was last week on that, and I'd be happy to forward that to you. I think part of it is to talk about the successes that we've had with the incentive programs, but also to get input from interested parties about what are the priorities to move forward with the incentive projects and programs. And I should mention that it also, besides the clean transportation incentives that I'm usually discussing or other colleagues are discussing, we're also including staff from our incentives that deal with community air protection, with agriculture, which is our farmer program. And I believe we'll have some people there for our Volkswagen Mitigation Trust and our Carl Moyer program as well. And so just to say that it is more expansive than the clean transportation incentives that programs and projects that fall under the funding plan. I don't know if anybody wanted to add anything I may have missed in there.
It looks like Daniela is happy with that response. I seen the thumbs up, Daniela. Okay, anybody else? You have a whole team of CARB staff at your fingertips right now, folks. If you have any questions, last call. Okay, all right, we're going to end. Don't forget to sign up for our listserv so that you can get information about all of the projects that were mentioned today and any of our upcoming events on our webpage. And as mentioned before, our contact information is up. Thanks for sharing our evening with us. Have a good evening, everyone.